I say any more? He's known as the Hitmaker of the stars, and he's right here with me. Let's give him an up-late welcome. Make him feel right at home for the one and only Desmond Child. What's up, my brother? I thank you so much for you coming down and making the time for us. I really appreciate that.
Well, I really appreciate being asked. This is my first TV show, you know, promoting my book and all that. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm
You
really
want to
grateful.
laugh? I'm the only one that's taping because I'm not with SAG, unfortunately. But listen, I'm a big fan. I'm a fan before I even, you know, I'm a Kiss fan. So that's how I discovered you. I was made for loving you. And then after that, all those songs with my high school and everything else. But we'll get to that later. But Desmond is here to talk about his new book, okay? It's called Desmond Child, Living on a Prayer, Big Songs, Big Life. Yeah. It's a story of his life to where he is now. And what I'm going to ask you.
Where am I now?
Where are you now?
Nowhere.
Listen,
well, I'm here. I'm here.
You are here. Since this is
I'm up late.
You're up late with Johnny Potenza.
That's right.
Since this is a story about you, but for people who don't know, you were born in Florida, correct?
Yes, in Gainesville, Florida.
Gainesville, Florida.
Yeah. Then later, you know, and my mother was Cuban.
Miami.
Yeah, my mother was Cuban, so we went down and joined all our relatives coming over from Cuba. So I grew up in the Cuban exile community, and my mom was a single mom at that point, and we had to live in a project house in Liberty City.
Wow.
Remember that movie Moonlight?
Yeah.
Well, those were the projects.
Wow.
That's where I grew up.
That must have been tough, right?
It was very tough, you know, and my mom was a songwriter too, so,
yes.
You know, she'd work at Burger King, and then anytime she had leftovers, she was writing songs and doing demos and then showing up at nightclubs every night to see if she could get somebody to sing her song.
That's
so I grew up with songwriting all around me, and I didn't know people didn't write songs. I just thought that's the way people express themselves. So ever since I was about 2 years old and I could get up on the piano bench, I was creating my own melodies and all that. So
excuse me, I'm sorry. You were Latin and soul, your family, right?
My mother was
Singing.
Cuban, yeah, and growing up in Liberty City, I heard a lot of soul music,
Yeah.
you know, on the swing sets, and all the kids were all, you know, every kind of kid, every color in the rainbow. And so I grew up, you know, in a place where the only place you could go was up. You know, my mom would come home, you know, late at night, and she'd have all the, you know, leftover Whoppers and fish sandwiches and all that, and the bottom layer was always very soggy. So we'd take 2 tops and make one. That's what we'd eat at like 11:30 at night. So we were kind of, you know, my brother Fred and I, we were like latchkey kids. So we let ourselves in, we made cereal, we waited for her to come home. So I got it in me that I wanted to make it really big so I could take care of my mom.
That's a good thing.
And I did.
And your original, if you don't mind me saying, that's everybody's dream. I'm still waiting for that dream. Your original name is John Charles Barrett, correct?
That's right.
And you were born October 28, 1955?
53.
53, okay.
So I'm going to be 70
I can't
next
even read
month.
my own writing.
I'm going to be 70 in another few weeks.
God bless you. You look like you're 60.
What? I thought I looked younger than that.
You do, but I said, let me just...
Well, you know what? 70 is the new 70.
Yeah. Now, is it true that they got your name from a Beatles song?
I got my name from a Beatles song. Well, my songwriting partner and I, at the time in high school, her name was Debbie Wall or Deborah Wallstein, and I went to Miami Beach High, you know, go high tides. And, you know, it was like one of those things, we wanted to do a duo called Night Child.
Yes, I heard about that.
So she became Virgil Knight, and I became Desmond Child. So we could be Night Child. And that was the beginning of my, you know, creating myself.
Yes.
You know, creating a new persona, a winner instead of a loser. And so when I went to NYU, for my last 2 years of college. I came up with my girlfriend that's when I liked girls, and came up from Miami, and we started a group called Desmond Child and Rouge.
Yes.
And it was Maria Vidal, Diana Grasselli, and Miriam Valley. And we just, we made posters. We played every little club in the village. And, we finally got signed. And we had an album come out, two albums come out in '79. We were musical guests on Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
And then, then my life blew up.
We're going to get to that in a second, but what was really cool that you did? You did one of your songs was on the soundtrack to The Warriors.
Right.
That's another one of my favorites.
Warriors. Yeah, it became a cult favorite.
That's one of my favorites. That's my first gang movie that started making me watch mob and gang movies. And we had a handful of The Warriors on my show already, like Thomas G. Waits.
I wrote a special song for the movie called Last of an Ancient Breed. And we did it at Desmond Child and Rouge. And, I thought I'd get my Oscar, but I don't think the movie was really Oscar material.
You know what?
At that time.
Back then, it was ahead of its time. It was too much for the movie theaters, and that's what happened. As the time went on, you said a cult classic. It's like it blew up.
Right.
Roger Hill is a genius, but Desmond blew up, and you're gonna love this story because I've been watching his interviews. I love how he tells the story. The introduction to you and Paul Stanley, how you guys just swapped off writing a song for each other. Tell us about that.
This is before our album came out. We were still recording our first album, and we played a place called Trax, Trax, that was on West 72nd Street. And you had to go down underground, so it was truly an underground club, right? And so we were getting ready to come out, and there was, the stage, and then there was like the wings. That was our dressing room. So we were behind this edge of the curtain. And so all of a sudden, this guy pops his head in, and he says, "Hey, I'm Paul Stanley of Kiss." And we didn't know what he looked like because he always had a handkerchief. Remember?
Yep.
They never showed their faces.
Back in the day, they never showed their faces.
And he said, "I just wanted to let you guys know that at the first table is George Harrison of the Beatles." And it's like, we're going to go and sing for one of the Beatles? So I peeked out and I almost fainted. And, I saw those white teeth and all this kind of stuff. Oh, my God. So afterward, Paul came back and he said, "You guys are great. We should try writing a song together." So we did a song called The Fight that was on Desmond Child and Rouge's first album. And then I said, "Okay, well, now your turn." And we wrote I Was Made for Loving You.
Go figure that, right?
I have to admit that I got the better end of that deal than he did.
Wait, tell me about it.
Well, I went to SIR, a rehearsal studio, and Kiss was on a lunch break. So, the guys just kind of basically knocked me over as I was walking in. And Paul went to there was a piano that had a cover on it because they had no use for a piano on the side of the stage, and he pulled up the black canvas cover, and we sat there together, and we just started this song, and we had this vision to combine his style and their style. So that is both his style, his style and my style, and so the idea was to write a rock song over a dance beat.
Disco was huge at
that
time.
We don't say disco.
Okay, what do you say?
We say
music?
Dance beat. Because
because they didn't like it.
No, it was kind of slagged. And so we came up with this thing, and it was very influenced by Motown. If you listen to Standing in the Shadow of Love, and you listen to I Was Made for Loving You, it's right there, son of. And Paul is a very big fan of Motown and R&B, and always loved soul music. And, of course, his band played the opposite of that. But in this case, we kind of snuck it in there. Gene always hated this song.
Gene hated, yeah.
He thought it was anti-Kiss, it was going to kill their career and all that. And now, through the test of time, and it's become Kiss's biggest global hit.
And I heard him in the interview recently. He goes, we play over, like Brazil, 100,000 people, you had all and they're playing like the metal fest, ear in through the nose and the head
Right.
and everything. And then all of a sudden you see all these tough guys and people with tattoos on their face standing up doing I Was Made for Loving You. But what I can tell you fast without getting into it too long before we can move on, being a big Kiss fan, and when that album Dynasty came out, they were changing to more like the Vegas. But when I Was Made for Loving You came out, I dug it and I got it. A lot of Kiss fans didn't because, as you said, they were going, like the Village People were big and they were going that route. But that song just like blew up. And everyone was playing it. And like even to this day, you listen to it, it's a great, great, great song.
And it gets licensed all the time. Remember the movie Why Him?
I heard of it, but I didn't see it.
Oh, well, Kiss is, they're playing that song all the way through. And then all of a sudden, Kiss shows up in the movie. And there's Gene playing the song, happy as a clam. I guess the check was big, right?
What do you think when it comes to money? He'll sell it.
Right.
If your nail broke and he picked it up, he would sell it.
I know he would.
So now from there, Paul, as you said, tell us the story now.
Well,
Paul Stanley gave Bon Jovi your number.
Well, Kiss was touring Europe, and Bon Jovi was one of the opening acts at that time. And Paul and John made friends, and Paul said, you should write with this guy, Desmond Child. So I think that what really happened was that John and Richie, I only learned this recently, had written with me so we could write songs for other people, so that they could make money with covers, that could bring money to the band. And so the very first day that I met them at Richie's house, here in New Jersey, I mean, it's just like you could probably see their house from here. Sayville. And there was a big marsh, sort of like Godfather 1, leave the keys, take the cannolis. Yeah, like a scene like that. I think you could see the Statue of Liberty in the distance. That's and all great. That. One of my favorite movie, by the way, The Godfather 1. And so I went in there, and John was on the phone, like this color, avocado green, and on wall phone. And Richie was, all this, and he led me downstairs into this damp, dark Silence of the Lambs basement. And, it took John a while to, come down. He was on the phone probably with his manager, Doc McGee.
Yeah.
And finally came down, and, he was, they were a little bit standoffish. Richie was always, like a people pleaser, like happy-go-lucky and all this. So John was like looking at me. So I said, hey, I got a title in my back pocket. Literally on a piece of paper in my back pocket had a title, You Give Love a Bad Name. And John looked at me, and all of a sudden his face lit up, and I saw all those teeth. It was like, oh my God, that's a $1 billion smile. Proven true.
Unbelievable.
And he just lit up. We wrote the song, and he threw in Shot Through the Heart from a previous song he had written. And then the three of us got to You Give Love a Bad Name, and, like our first three-way fist in the air, fist bump.
Yeah.
And never looked back.
Now, the one that got 1 billion downloads on Spotify, what was that? Was that Living on a Prayer?
Living on a Prayer, yeah.
Now,
so we wrote that one a few weeks afterward. And, John, had like these friends from high school, Bonnie and Joe, that he was thinking about in his mind. And it's a story of a working class couple that's having a hard time, and he's, a musician, but he lost his job working on the docks, the story.
Yeah.
The story of Tommy and Gina.
Yes.
And I had this vision in my mind of those hungry years when I lived with Maria Vidal from Desmond Child and Rouge, and she had a job as a waitress at a place called Once Upon a Stove, and her waitress name was Gina. And so, hold on just 1 second. I'll go back to that in a second. And her waitress name was Gina, and because she reminded everybody of Gina Lollobrigida. So that's where Gina came. And so, we took 2 days to write that song. And, at first John really didn't think it was right for the band because I think he wanted to rock harder.
Yeah.
And that song was kind of spooky and sentimental and all this kind of stuff. And Richie and I knew we had something. So we literally, half joking, half serious, got on our hands and knees and begged him to cut it. Just try it. You don't have to put it on the record, just try it. And they got in the studio with their producer in Vancouver, Bruce, the late, great Bruce Fairburn.
Yeah, great guy.
And magic happened. And so much for writing for other people, but we did write a song called We All Sleep Alone.
Yes.
And I was producing Cher.
Yeah.
And, it was one of the leftover songs from New Jersey. And we went in there. I cut it, Cher was a perfect one to sing it, because her history and you imagine a lot of ups and downs and you imagine times when she did sleep alone.
Yeah, especially after Gene Simmons.
Exactly.
I'm only kidding, Gene.
And so that's, I co-produced it with John and Richie, and we did 2 songs, that and a remake of Bang Bang.
Yeah.
And, Richie and Cher, magic happened, and then they were together for a while. So, one thing led to the other, and, I started having big hit songs with Bon Jovi. So then what happened? Aerosmith, right. See, that was a test.
I love the story, how you came up with the name. Dude looks like a lady. Tell us.
I didn't come up with the name.
Oh, no, you didn't come up with the name. Tell me the story.
Well, the story is John Clodner, their A&R guy, had made a record with them called Done with Mirrors that, didn't do so well. And so he saw the success of Bon Jovi and forced me on the band. So they flew me to Boston and, limo picks me up, takes me to this big warehouse, huge warehouse, like where you could put a jet in there. And there was a stage, and on the right I could see rows upon rows and rows upon rows of guitars, every kind of guitar, Tiger, Zebra, Glitter, Gibsons, Fenders. I mean, it was every kind of guitar. And if Joe, felt like playing guitar, he was ready to go. And so when I walked in, the door opens and a big shaft of light behind me because it was daylight outside. And Steven comes towards me, and I see him like coming out of this like spotlight, right? And he's very, very sweet and warm, very warm to me. And he said, "Come on, listen to this." So I go to the side of the stage, and Joe was working on a backwards guitar that went like a-da-da, a-da-da. And then Steven started singing, "Cruising for the ladies, da-da, da-da, cruising for the ladies." And then they stopped, and then they said, "What do you think about that?" So I still haven't said a word, not one word. I said, "That's bad." And Joe was already like this. Now he got really far back with squinty eyes looking at me sideways. And then Steven, he said, "Well, what's wrong with that?" I said, "I don't think Van Halen would put that on the B-side of their worst record." Yeah. I said that to be funny, and so it didn't catch a laugh. And then I said, and then Steven says, "Well, originally it was Dude Looks Like a Lady." It's like, what? Well, I was singing Dude Looks Like a Lady, and I said, "That's a hit title." And so I asked him, "How did you come up with that title?" He said, "Well, we were in this bar on the shore, and we were, I was there with all the guys and the roadies and everything. And then at the end of this long, lonely bar, there was this one, gorgeous vision of loveliness on the end with a big platinum mullet and porcelain skin and black nails and jewelry and a kind of curvy figure. And everyone was like, "Oh, who's going to go up and say, hit on her," right? So they were like drawing straws. All of a sudden, she turns around, and it's Vince Neil of Motley Crue.
I can see that.
Then Steven said, and I started going, "Oh, ooh, that dude looks like a lady. Dude looks like a lady. That dude looks like a lady. And he loves alliteration. So that's the birth of that song.
That's excellent. I love it. I love it. It's great, right? Now listen, we have a little time left. I want to hit on one more, and then when I want to talk fast about your skin product, and then you're going to get up and play a couple of songs with us, right?
Yeah, sure.
Now talk about Ricky Martin with that whole big success of Livin' La Vida Loca.
Well, Livin' La Vida Loca was the second of two giant hits. The first one was the World Cup theme, 1998.
Yes.
Called The Cup of Life. And that's a song he sang on the Grammys when Madonna went crazy and everyone went crazy for him, and literally was the spark that ignited the Latin music explosion, which was already, 15 years after Gloria Estefan had done the first round. Like she brought the crossover idea of Latin music in pop. I mean, so everything goes back to Gloria Estefan. And so I had moved back to Florida with my husband, Curtis, and we got into this whole Miami Beach Latin dancing salsa at a place called Starfish, and all this stuff. And people were saying, you really should work with this kid, Ricky Martin. And my manager's wife, Carlene Simone, had seen him on General Hospital, and she was crazy about him. So I said, okay, I'll meet him. And I happened to see a video of his outdoor concert in Buenos Aires when they stopped the city. Like hundreds of thousands of people showed up, and there he was dancing on an outdoor stage, and they shot like aerial view. And I said, oh my God, I have to work with this kid. So he comes over with his producer and former Menudo, classmate, Draco Rosa, and we hit it off. And Draco and I were doing the song writing and production, and Ricky was out there, on tour making it happen. Yeah. So it took, all three of us to make that moment happen. And so we wrote The Cup of Life, and like 2 billion people saw it. And thank God France won, because the song went #1 next day in France. That's excellent. And all 26 countries went #1. So we had to come up with the next song. So the manager calls me, he says, can you write something in like Spanglish? That's English and Spanish. Yeah. So I was trying to think, well, what words does everybody know? And I remembered back in LA, there was a chain called Pollo Loco, El Pollo Loco. It was a chicken chain, right? And so I said, well, everybody knows what loco is, right? Living la vida loca came out of me. And Draco and we work with Randy Cantor, this amazing arranger, and we made history that day, because I had one of the first Pro Tools studios, and so we did everything what they call in the box, digitally. Yeah. So the Wall Street Journal reported that we were the first song to go to #1 that was done 100% digitally. We made history.
Even the drums?
Everything. Wow. Everything was programmed. Everything. And so then 2 years ago, that song, Livin' La Vida Loca, was selected by the Library of Congress to be in the National Registry of Recorded Works, and for its influence on culture. And to get there, having come from the ghettos, to be in the Library of Congress along with Moon River, that was selected that year, it was such an honor. And so, I just love Ricky Martin so much. I owe him so much, because he's the one that went out there and sold it. Yeah. And to all the artists that, I've collaborated with, they had to go out there and sell it, like day in, day out. So I owe them everything.
That's everything. You've got to go out and sell it, right? No one's going to come to you.
I always say that, you need an equal amount of talent and hustle, but that's not true. You need much more hustle than talent.
You always say, that's a special saying you always say, and I really want to know if it's true. You go, you always show up to an artist's house with a title in your back pocket. Do you actually have a paper in your pocket, or is that just a saying that you say?
No. In that case, that's when I was writing down lyrics on paper and I'd tear up the top and, you know, stick it in my pocket.
I went to Joan Jett's house. I had the title in my pocket. I was at Bon Jovi. I had the title in my pocket. I like that.
I did have that title for Joan Jett, and she didn't want to do a song that had love in it because she had done I Love Rock and Roll. And she said, I've sung love enough. I don't want to sing a song that has love in it. It's too soft. I said, come on. It says, I hate myself for loving you. It says the word hate, not just love. It's tension of opposites. So she kind of, little by little, warmed up to it. And it's so great because I had the cassette of our writing session.
That's excellent.
You know, and, you know, to hear the beginnings of that song with her singing, you know.
That's the future Desmond Child demo box set.
Right. Well, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Now listen, let me just tell you this. We got 1 minute left, and you're going to go up and sing. What's this crazy thing that you're doing now? Skincare product. What is it?
Vida Loca Skin Life.
Vida Loca Skin Life. That's Italian.
And so, I mean, yeah, I have this slogan. It's like skin has no gender. So, you know, this is like something that I'd had in the back of my mind, and I met the Leuzzi family. They have this wonderful branding company, and we got together, made you know, a partnership, and you know, so it's going to be launched really soon.
Well, good luck. So Desmond, where can people find you on the internet? Website, social media?
Yes, well, first of all, I'm like addicted to Instagram. You know, I mean, we post on everything on Facebook and X, and now we're coming in with Threads. And, you know, if you go to @Desmond.Child, you'll get right onto me in Instagram, and all of them, everything that I'm doing right now. This is like a countdown to the release of my book that's, you know, imminent. And so we, you know, that's where I do everything. And Desmond Child and Rouge has their own site.
Well, I watched a lot of the old stuff that I never knew about on YouTube.
Yeah.
Music videos.
Yes,
That's pretty
yes.
cool.
And, you know, we were guests on Saturday Night Live, so that was the apex of our career. But the thing is that I'm hooked on this, you know, Instagram thing.
Good.
Like, I'm answering, and I'm, like, going crazy. And I've actually reached 1,100,000 followers.
You should have more than that. Yeah.
I mean...
And another year. But you're going to get up and play 2 good songs for us, right?
Well, yeah, they're still good.
So everybody, don't forget, Desmond Child's books. It gets launched in a couple of weeks. Living on a Prayer, big songs, big life. You better get it, or I'm going to smack you in the head with it, all right? All right. Desmond Child.
Thank you.